Pressure ulcers come in 4 different stages, and it's important to be able to distinguish and differentiate the various stages of a pressure ulcer. We ought to begin by, though, first defining what a pressure ulcer is. Pressure ulcer is a lesion that occurs in an area where there is constant and persistent pressure, unrelieved pressure. This pressure usually comes about to the tissue over bony prominences such as the sacrum, the coccyx, or the heels, places like this. And when we think about pressure ulcers and we want to distinguish them, we'll start by describing each stage and what differentiates or is characteristic of that particular stage of pressure ulcer. So stage 1 of a pressure ulcer, there is observable change in the color, temperature, and tissue consistency. And also a difference in the sensation. So when coming to that area, you'd notice a differentiation in color. It looks a different color when you compare it to surrounding tissues or comparable tissues in another part of the body. The temperature would be different in that area versus around it or in another comparable area. The feel of the skin would be different in that area compared to the surrounding tissue or a comparable area. And then when touching it, the person might say that they don't feel it, it feels numb. There'd be difference in a feeling for that particular area based on how it would feel in surrounding tissue or in a comparable tissue in another part. Stage 2 pressure ulcers are known by the fact that there's a superficial abrasion, blister, or a shallow crater. So when looking at that particular part of the body, you'd notice an abrasion, a blister, or a shallow crater in that area would indicate a stage 2 pressure ulcer. Stage 3 ulcers are shown to be are noticeable by deep craters. And there is damage to the subcutaneous tissues. Deep crater and observable damage to the subcutaneous tissues. A stage 4 ulcer involves full thickness skin loss and tissue necrosis and possible damage to the muscles, bones, and other supporting structures. Such as tendons and joint capsules. So by observing the person and looking especially at those places over bony protuberances like the heels, the sacrum, the coccyx, and other such areas, look for these differentiations, and when you notice them, you have a pressure ulcer there, and then be able to recognize which stage we're talking about. Stage 1, difference in color, temperature, skin consistency, or the sensation of the person as it's being touched. Stage 2, an open, obvious abrasion, blister, or shallow crater. Stage 3, deep craters and damage to the subcutaneous tissues. And then stage 4, very obvious, with skin loss, skin necrosis, and damage to the connecting muscles, bones, and other structures.